Welcome to Tower Talk Business Radio, where we bring you conversations with the top business minds on Long Island and around the nation every week. Featuring expert consultants and small business owners who have found success but are also willing to share their top tips, failures, and give gritty, matter-of-fact advice based on their firsthand experience. Now, let's get down to business on Tower Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hello and welcome to Tower Talk Business Radio. My name is Ray Schwetz, AVP of Business Banking at Giovia Financial Credit Union, along with Donyshia Boston-Hill, CEO, keeper of the brand, marketing, and digital agency.
We're focused on being the premier resource for business and entrepreneurship. We bring you weekly business advice, tips, tools, and services that help you grow your business. Plus, we interview some of the top business leaders in the industry.
And today we're very excited to introduce you to a very dynamic individual, to Aditya Varanasi. He is the CEO of Awarity. So they're an affordable and sustainable digital marketing solution for up-and-coming companies, making world-class marketing more affordable without sacrificing the quality. So Aditya, welcome to the show. Thank you very much for being on today.
Thanks for having me on today.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you started Awarity?
Yeah, sure. I actually started my career far from marketing. I started as a chemical engineer, graduated from Purdue University, moved to Texas to join Frito-Lay in the R&D group. And so I was developing new products, worked on things like developing Tostitos scoops and Lay's stacks. And that was where I first got exposed to the marketing function. So I was fortunate enough to spend time with some brilliant marketers at that time as we're working hand in hand to make sure the product was meeting customer needs. And I became fascinated by marketing, just the consumer psychology side, the business strategy implications. It all seemed to come together under the marketing roof. And I thought, I really want to do more of this. And so I went and pursued my MBA, earned my MBA from Northwestern, and then came back to Frito-Lay in the brand marketing group. And I worked on brands like Cheetos and Cracker Jack, worked on all the big fun brands there, had a great time, learned a lot from, again, just some brilliant marketers. And after several years, I had an opportunity to join a private equity firm. I was hired to start this firm, and they were well funded, not to start the private equity firm, but run a startup for this private equity firm. They were well funded. We had a lot of resources at our disposal. And we launched this new insurance product, and I thought, I want to apply the same PepsiCo playbook. So things we did successfully at PepsiCo is we would have top-of-funnel awareness-building advertising like TV, layered in with promotional activities to get consumers engaged. That could be retail merchandising. It could be being in a circular, different things to engage consumers closer to that point of purchase. And then we'd, of course, have pricing discounts and other things you do at point of purchase, coupons, host of other things to drive sales. And one of the things that I learned was it really was the interaction of all three that drove purchase. We actually modeled the impact of each of those things individually and came up with a lift on, for every dollar we spend on each of those activities, how much more do we sell? But what we found is the lift when you ran all three was much higher than each of them individually. Take a step back, which it makes a lot of sense, is when you're a consumer, you're sitting on the sofa, you see Cheetos on TV, and you remember, wow, Cheetos, it's fun, it's playful, it makes me feel like a kid again. You don't think those things literally, but it kind of reminds you that this is a unique snack in the world of snacking. And you're thinking, I want to feel like a kid again. You go to the store, you see it on a merchandising unit, and you're like, I was just thinking of Cheetos. And then you see it's on sale, 50 cents off, and you might just pick up the bag. And that's how we all buy. Most of our purchase decisions are truly subconscious. We're not having those literal thoughts, I want to feel like a kid again. But we see something, it makes us feel a certain way. And that's where the awareness side of the advertising starts. But then when I was with this startup and I was trying to find ways to build brand awareness, I was astonished. There really wasn't anything that was affordable. I didn't have the mega agencies and the huge resources of PepsiCo behind me. These brands were new that I was working on. And so I was trying to figure out a kind of a scrappy way to build brand awareness, and there just wasn't anything out there that could provide us the level of targeting and efficiency to make it affordable for where we were at that time. And so I parted ways with that firm and started Awarity. Our first name was Sophos Marketing. We rebranded to Awarity a few years ago, and because it was much more reflective of what we did. We started with just a focus on how do we help small businesses build targeted brand awareness, knowing that if we made it affordable, they could then reach new people, and everything else that they're doing in marketing is going to work harder. It's going to create greater responsiveness to everything else they might be doing, whether it's social media, search. More people are going to find their website. More people are going to respond to things they might be doing in local print. Because the more the name is out there and we create that emotional connection, it can only help from there. So I started the business in 2016. We were testing it for about a year and a half. Really didn't start scaling up until mid-2018. Here we are several years later. We made the Inc. 5000 last year. I'm expecting we'll make it again this year, working with hundreds of small businesses across the country. But now even larger companies and franchise groups are working with us because our technology and automation is so efficient, it can deploy advertising in a way traditional methods can't.
Congratulations on finding that niche. That's really awesome.
It is, and it is great to see, someone like yourself coming from a major brand, making that transition into the entrepreneurial world. When I think of PepsiCo, I think of Bozeman St. John. So she's major in booking, the Pepsi halftime shows. So we love Pepsi here at WHPC and also Purchase, New York. So
just down the street.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And so, tell us a little bit about the services you offer. So you mentioned you work with small businesses and you're scaling up to larger brands, which is fantastic. But if someone was looking to say, okay, I need to connect with Awarity, what services do you provide and how can you help people?
Right now, like I said, our focus is on building brand awareness. And the two tools that we found that we can make affordable, they can deliver media efficiently and have proven to be incredibly effective are banner ads. And those are ads you see on websites, but we can choose which zip codes they're viewed in. We actually developed some technology ourselves to target specific census blocks and census tracts if you want to get very targeted with who's seeing your advertising. You can choose the kind of content that you're advertising alongside. So if you're running an air conditioner repair company, we could target content where people are reading about their air conditioner not working or maybe their capacitor not starting, whatever that might be. And get really targeted with that and make it affordable. And then since 2020, streaming TV has just exploded in popularity. And so we also offer non-skippable 30-second commercial spots on connected TV. So these would be apps like Pluto TV. We get a little bit of placement on Hulu, across devices like Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, smart TVs. It's now surpassed cable in terms of our ability to reach. Think about it. It used to be if you bought cable, you had to buy the entire market and your business may not serve the market. And that's a lot of media. So it's going to be expensive. With connected TV, we could isolate just a handful of zip codes in and around your location. So you have to buy less media, makes it more affordable. But then you can also be incredibly targeted and not waste your dollars, serving to customers that may not be able to come to your location. So those are the two platforms that we're running now. We do have several other things coming in the near future in our R&D pipeline. And over time, we envision offering everything a brand might need through our platform to deploy advertising media.
Now, what are some of the common misconceptions on marketing? Often folks, they're not necessarily thinking about marketing because they're afraid of the cost or that sort of thing. So I imagine that's one of them, but I'm sure there are many misconceptions.
Yeah, I think for people operating a business, and look, I'll be honest, even people in the marketing function, marketing is one of those areas that nobody feels super confident about what they're doing. I haven't met a single person, and this can even come from my time at PepsiCo, said, yep, I know exactly what I'm doing, and I know exactly how it's going to work and exactly what's going to happen. By nature, it's just a little bit more abstract. You're trying to drive human influence. And when you're trying to drive human influence, it's not always you input $1 and you get $3 back. And so the common misconception is people end up investing their dollars in those channels where they can get direct response. So you'll see a lot pour into things like paid search, You'll see things pour even into social to a degree that's hyper-targeted. It's great because you're getting people at the finish line, people that are actively searching for your product or service, but you're not doing anything to generate new demand and create awareness for your brand other than organic word of mouth. And because that investment doesn't necessarily translate overnight, the biggest mistake is people fail to make any investment there at all. So they're not doing any brand building, brand awareness building, creating demand for their business, creating that emotional connection early so that when that need arises, they become one of the first things potential customers think of. They're only relying on hoping to win when the customers are making that final decision, and many times that's too late. Like if I asked you right now, you need a new refrigerator, what brand are you going to pick? You probably have 2 or 3 brands on top of your mind, and the odds are you're going to buy one of those 2 to 3 brands. Now, there may be something that persuades you to switch, but the odds are you're going to go with the brands you're thinking of first, and that's brand awareness that was built over years. And so many of these small to mid-sized businesses just don't invest to do that because there hasn't been an affordable solution to do so.
You are listening to Tara Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Ray Schwetz, along with Donyshia Boston-Hill, and our guest today is Aditya Varanasi, and he's the CEO of Awarity.
Now, Aditya, your material speaks to seeing beyond the metrics, lesser-known ways of measuring business growth and success. Can you elaborate on that for our listeners? Because that's really, really insightful.
Yeah, I'll give you an example, and just like we were talking about, it's harder to measure the impact of awareness because you don't see it always translate into overnight sales. So and it's hard to assess what your brand awareness is. Running surveys and market research can also be very expensive, which is another barrier for these small to mid-sized businesses. Things that we have our clients look at and things that we report on is how many new website visitors are you earning, and you can see that in your web analytics, whether that's Google Analytics or something else. We'll report that in our dashboard as well. How many people saw your ad and within 30 days came to your website to just learn a little bit more? And I would argue those are much higher intent buyers because they saw an ad and they made a choice to come to your website. When you contrast that to people that click on paid search ads, some of those folks may convert, but they're only doing so at the last minute, and you can't expect to have loyalty if they're doing so at the last minute. The next time they have a need, they may or may not come back to you. And so that's a big one when you're thinking about brand awareness is harvest that website data. Look at who your new users are, where they're coming from geographically. There's demographic data. Look at what channels they might be attributed to. Our clients see when they start advertising with us, they'll see growth in organic search, because more people just start looking for that URL as the name is out there. And it's not just the name, it's the story and one emotional connection to remember why that brand and how that brand can help you. So they'll see growth in organic search, they'll see growth in direct traffic, and they'll see that mix of new versus returning users start to shift and start to see more and more new users. Then you start to see over time that base of returning users also grows as you continue to target them over time. So I would say that's probably the biggest one to assess brand health. That's really easy to get. There's a host of others, but some of them can be a little more expensive, a little more complicated.
Now, what are the key messages that one can create to inspire trust and earn those leads?
Yeah, it's I put creative through a few different filters. The first filter I put it through is if you swapped out the logo and colors on that ad and put in a competitor, would the ad still work? And if it still works, it means we're not necessarily saying something that's distinctive about that brand that makes it different than the other choices on the market. You got to remember, we're exposed to 4,000 to 6,000 ads a day. And the ones that we remember are really simple, but they also highlight a feature that addresses a pain point we have, one that we can articulate or maybe one we can't articulate. And so the ability to have something distinctive is key. The second is simplicity. If we're seeing so many ads a day, we're not going to remember everything about every ad. At most, we're going to remember a handful a day. And with so much going on in our lives, less can be more. So a lot of times just saying less and sticking to the most important attributes of what you can offer and how you can help people's lives will go a lot further than trying to tell them 10 to 15 different things in a short 15 or 30 second ad. And then the last is there should be some emotion. It needs to connect to a customer's need. Again, whether that's articulated or unarticulated, something that they're feeling in their life, showcasing how you can make their life better in some shape or form. Having a snack gives you a moment of delight, and you might argue I'm romanticizing it, but the truth is when we all have a snack, it's just a little bit of a reward for us in that day. It doesn't mean we should overindulge. Every product out there offers some kind of a benefit to people's lives, and making sure that you stay focused on how the consumer perceives that is key, because it's important they absorb the message. And I'll tell you, that's the hardest part. We run advertising for so many different businesses. It's very easy for me to look at other companies' advertising and see it objectively, but then when it comes to our own, it feels a lot harder for some reason.
Absolutely. And people, that's why they come to you for the expert, right? And so Awarity in itself, I love the fact that that name just rolls off. There's something to be said about those one name businesses, and also, celebrities such as Madonna. You know exactly where to go. In your search to help small businesses, I'm sure you've obtained success. How can you share with us some of your most successful story, or one of your success stories that you've really felt most proud of during your time of rebranding Awarity and really connecting with small business owners?
Yeah, I'll give you an example of one of our very early clients. Is actually our first client in sports and entertainment. And it's an NBA G League team called the Texas Legends. And it wasn't long after we committed to scaling up this business that I met the president and general manager at a networking event, and he said, I'll be happy to talk to you, a guy named Malcolm Farmer, and we actually had lunch earlier this week, and we sat down and we're talking, and he was sharing more about how they're really trying to create a family-centric, affordable game day experience in this local market. And they do a lot of really innovative things. Like they have this bounce house section with huge inflatable setup, so it's kid friendly. They do a lot to get families and kids on the floor. They celebrate a local charity every game and put them on the jersey. They're very committed to creating a local experience, but not a lot of people knew about them. So they were doing all the right things from a strategy and thinking about their customer and providing value to their customer standpoint, but they weren't always top of mind because their families have a lot of entertainment choices. And I remember he said, I'll give you guys a shot. We'll work together. We'll see what this can do. He was open-minded, and credit to him for being innovative to try something different. And lo and behold, several years later, they've led the G League in attendance for the last several years. They continue to grow every single year. I think he won GM of the Year multiple times since we've worked with him. And I don't want to take credit for it, because at the same time, we could have we've run advertising for others. They didn't see the same level of success, because it all has to come together. All we can do is drive that exposure. But we were driving exposure for a brand that had put a lot of thought into delivering a great product, and that had an amplified effect. And he saw a lot of long-term success. And here we are several years later working with over 200 different sports properties around the country. And one thing I'll add, we think about it, we say NBA G League team, oh, they must have lots of money. These guys are small businesses. Minor league baseball teams, G League teams, they're all operating like small businesses with very limited budgets and resources. They're not the Dallas Mavericks. They're the Texas Legends. And so they have to think very creatively about how they deploy their limited resources as well, much like a small business does.
You're listening to Tower Talk Business Radio. Our guest today is Aditya Varanasi, CEO of Awarity. My name is Donyshia Boston-Hill, along with Ray Schwetz, on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
So what are the top ways that small businesses can get the most bang for the buck? You've mentioned a few that are very affordable. What are kind of your top ones that you feel like they're very impactful?
Well, I think the first, you always start at the bottom of the funnel and work your way up as you're building a brand, building a business. So I think first and foremost, email. Everybody has customer lists. Segment those lists and make sure that you have an appropriate cadence to keep in touch with them. You don't want to email them every day, but you want to showcase value on how you can help their lives and segment them. So if you have a list of customers, this subset is families. This subset are, young men. This subset is older women. Make sure you have a message that resonates with each of those sets on how you can help them. Think of that as an advertising touch point, but it helps bring them back if you have that information, and it doesn't cost very much. It just takes a little bit of time and energy. Other channels, I think one of the things that really excites me about the potential of what we're doing is so much of our media consumption has moved to digital. So, 20 years ago, if you wanted to look up a business, you would pick up the yellow pages and you would look at who took out the quarter page ad, and businesses were paying for that quarter page ad. And then you might call the biggest one or the one that had the best quarter page ad. And today you're going on Google, you're going on Yelp, you're going on a host of other search engines to try to find those other brands that can help you. And so it's very easy to be present in those directories. It's free, honestly, to be present in those directories, first off. But then a lot of them have very affordable paid solutions to bolster your visibility when somebody is searching, whether it's Google paid search or otherwise. So then you go to social media. Social media can be fantastic, but the thing is less than half of users are on the platform daily. So it's great for engaging those people that are there, but you're not going to reach everyone. You could take somebody like me, and I'm on social media on Facebook maybe once every 2 to 3 days, and it's not long. So if you're relying on social only to reach someone like me, you're just not going to do it. And so you have to diversify, but it can be affordable. You could set very, very affordable minimums and be very targeted on who sees those ads. So it's a great vehicle. And then you go to people now consuming all their news content or TV content on streaming and on websites. And so banner ads on websites, streaming TV commercials can be hyper targeted, which makes them more affordable. So I think of those as kind of the starter pack combo. But then again, you tailor. If you're a B2B business, maybe instead of Facebook, you focus more on LinkedIn. If you're more into design and aesthetic, maybe you focus a little more on Pinterest or Instagram, where it's a much more visual medium. Maybe if you're a physician, you're not just focused on Google for your search, but you're looking at Top Docs and other websites that help you identify, new physicians. So you tailor a little bit, but it's really about that search, the social, and then some kind of awareness building, coupled with making sure you have a cadence of emails for your sales prospects and also your customers to bring them back.
Now, with your services, they're very experiential. How do you advertise business to business for Awarity?
Yeah. So we actually use our own service. So we do several things. We invest in some PR. We have paid search campaigns running. We have invested in search engine optimization of our site. So when people are looking for advertising solutions, to ensure we organically show up in that through blog content and other content that we put together. We have a regular cadence of social media. We don't do a lot of paid advertising in social media, but I try to routinely post on LinkedIn. We have things that we put on Facebook. Again, a lot of it's just content to help people. And then we use banner ads and connected TV commercials to reach new customers. And then you marry that with the sales team. So, we have, for example, somebody dedicated to the franchise space on the sales team. Well, we have advertising running concurrently to people in the franchise business, so that we're building that brand awareness, so that if they do happen to meet, they have a little more awareness and a little bit more of a connection with our brand at the start of that conversation, which helps jumpstart it a lot more when versus the conversation starting with, who are you again?
That's interesting. What are some of the biggest challenges you face besides awareness, right? And so as a small business owner, we look at the B2B, there's challenges every day that's keeping you up at night.
Yeah, are you talking in the, so you're talking in the marketing realm?
Just overall as a small business owner.
Well, I think the biggest challenge, and I think it does end up relating to marketing, is just cash. Businesses they're always tightly managing the cash on hand and what they can invest in. And I think it creates an environment where sometimes marketing gets cut because it's the hardest to maybe measure immediate impact. And that's, I get it and I understand the decision, but I'll tell you, when COVID hit and a lot of our clients were shut down in March of 2020, we had several stick with it. Even though they were shut down, they said, we are going to stick with it because we know things are going to reopen and we want to be top of mind. And I'll tell you, they had a huge jump start when things did reopen and bounce back a lot more quickly. And I don't take that lightly because that's a very, very difficult financial decision to make at that time when your doors are closed and you're not generating a lot of money. And by no means is it an absolute. Everybody's got to do what's right for them. But I'll tell you, managing that cash on hand sometimes leads us to make decisions that look good in the short term with the price of long term. And I think that's the toughest part for these small business owners and operators, is trying to find the balance between the two with the limited resources that they have in hand.
What's the one thought you'd like to leave with our listeners?
I would say, don't neglect marketing. Just because it's not easy to measure all the time, just because it can feel a little bit uncomfortable because it's outside your wheelhouse, don't neglect it. Some kind of a concerted effort, doing things at all stages of the funnel, even if it's with very, very limited resources, just staying consistent with it will pay off and give you long-term dividends. Like we use with the example on the refrigerator. When people aren't ready to buy every day, but when they are ready to buy, when they have that need, you want to be top of mind, and you're gonna grow your business more sustainably for longer if you're investing to be top of mind as those needs do arise.
And how can people find you?
Yeah, you can visit us at awarity.com, AWARITY.
Aditya, thank you so much for joining the show today and sharing information about your company, Awarity. Great stuff.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
I'd like to leave you with DB's philosophy. Walt Disney, all dreams can come true if you have the courage to pursue them.
We want to thank you for being with us. My name is Ray Schwetz, along with Donyshia Boston-Hill, your co-host and producers. Visit nccradio.org for more information. We're available on Odyssey, TuneIn, iHeartRadio as a podcast on iTunes, Android Podcasts, and Spreaker. This has been Tower Talk Business Radio, powered by the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.